Within the Golden State of California, there are more outdoor public pools than any other state in the US. Obviously, this is due to California's mild climate and the amount of people who use pools for fitness and sports. This documentary will discuss the impact of outdoor pools on youths, adults, and seniors living in California by referencing people such as Coach David Marsh and Coach Nate Hepner, men who have spent a substantial amount of their lives in pools.
I'm David Marsh. I'm the head coach of Team Lead Aquatics, and my background is I was a head coach at Auburn University for 17 years, and head coach of Swim at Carolina for 10 years, and the head coach of UCSD for 2 years, and now focused on Team Lead, the professionals, and Team Lead Stingrays, the club team.
I'm the head water polo coach at La Jolla Country Day School, and I teach 6th grade U.S. history at the same school as well.
Hi, what's up? I'm Thomas Wyndham. So currently I am a assistant slash goalie water polo coach at La Jolla Country Day. I am also a full-time student at UCSD, second year, studying molecular and cellular biology on a pre-med track.
Oh yeah, so I'm Nate Hefner. I coach the high school swim team here at La Jolla Country Day, as well as teach 8th grade English. So I grew up in Alaska, and I lived there until I was 18, and then I went to college in Spokane, Washington, and I was on the swim team both in high school in Palmer, Alaska, and also on the swim team in college. And then from Spokane, I moved to Portland for 2 years, and after living in Portland for 2 years, I moved to San Diego in the summer of 2000, and have lived here ever since.
The benefits for an outdoor pool is it boils down to one thing: air. When you're in an indoor pool, the ventilation is not the best. I remember I played a couple games in college at there's a couple indoor pools in California. One of the biggest ones is actually in Commerce, of all places. They actually built it indoor so it wouldn't be vandalized. But it's a beautiful aquatic center, and it's like a 40-meter pool. It's beautiful. And but I remember we played SC there, and in some tournament we're in, and I remember I could barely breathe because it's so humid inside there. And it's not that it's just humid like humid weather; it's humid with chlorine fumes, and you're just like gasping for air. I actually played my last game at Belmont Plaza, which was an indoor pool too, but that one had roll-up doors, so like they rolled it all up, and the ventilation got through there. But I think the benefits in an outdoor pool: better airflow. It's not as loud, because when you have whistles blowing, it's echoing off the walls, and it gets confusing at times. But the benefits to an indoor pool is sun factor doesn't play a factor. Like, so if you have a sun in a goalie's eyes, you're not going to have that in an indoor pool.
Yeah, the biggest thing about indoor pools is, the chlorine, and the chlorine gets usually bad at most pools. I happen to have a pool at Queen's University of Charlotte that had great air because they had a product called the evacuator in there, which basically sucked all the chlorine out. So it's sort of spoiled in that way. But at the end of the day, I can tell you for sure, outdoor swimming is more healthy. It feels better in the overall run of things. I would say, outdoor swimming is awesome, especially in San Diego. But nobody warned me about this, but it actually gets cold in the mornings, and as soon as the sun goes down at night, it gets cold, and so there's certain times when I want to do a quality session and give the athletes a lot of rest that you really can't do it, because giving them rest, they just freeze while they're waiting between reps. They don't really get more warmed up. So I found often I have to change my workout in order to accommodate the weather, or the weather caused me to have to accommodate the weather conditions for the workout. And that makes it that's sort of frustrating at times, because there's certain things you want to do certain days, and sometimes you just have to pull back and say this will not go well, this set will not go well. So that's the biggest difference, is the outdoor pools can be a little bit colder.
Yeah, I think just the weather in general draws more people to aquatics, and swimming and water polo go hand in hand. They usually, I don't know a water polo player that didn't start out swimming. It's like everybody swam a little bit, and then either they liked it or they didn't, burned down on it or whatever, and then they switched over to polo, or some go back and forth. I think that, but yeah, I think that weather definitely plays a part of it. I mean, that whole Southern California vibe of surfers, like, people who usually get in swimming to surf better or whatever, being more control in the ocean. But yeah, I definitely think that plays a huge role in it.
Well, the sunbathers and rec swimmers interact differently, partly because it's outdoors, and I think they're part of the sort of the community of the pool. Whereas I'd say in the East, when they're indoor pools, they're going to the swimming pool to do laps and to work out. They're not really going there to hang out and to sort of relax a little bit. They're going there to do their workout, get out of there, and go home. So I'd say that's the biggest difference.
Well, until I moved, well, I take that back. Well, yeah, until I moved to San Diego, I had never coached or competed for a season at an outdoor pool. So in Alaska, they're all obviously indoor pools, and in Spokane too, and in Portland. So I never actually swam in an outdoor pool in my life until my junior year in college, when we did our Christmas training at UC Santa Cruz, and so that was a really unique experience for me. And I can't say I enjoyed the Christmas training, but we had to swim meet there, and the swim meet did not go well for me because I wasn't prepared to swim in an outdoor pool, and it's just different from indoor swimming. So that to me is the biggest difference, is everything's outdoors. I love it. I could never imagine going back to only indoor swimming. Although I'd probably get used to it pretty quickly, but that changes a lot about just how you feel about competition. I mean, if you're going to be swimming in the rain, you just accept swimming in the rain.
Differences in coaching in California. I haven't been to a place where coaches sort of like one of the priorities is you got to get in the shade, and you do have to get in the shade because it's a long day, and a lot of times coaches are sitting down in chairs behind tables, and then back east coaches don't sit in chairs behind tables. They're usually roaming the deck or doing things, working with kids in the warm down pool, things like that. So very different kind of culture out here, and not that that's bad or good, but it's just different. And I just say that the way coaches coach. I think in California it's a little bit more chill. I think coaches are sort of they're walking with the athletes a little bit more. I see back east, especially in the Northeast, there's a lot more pushing and a lot more yelling and things like that I don't necessarily always condone, but it's just different in the East and West. But I think in both cases, if the athlete's motivated enough, they're gonna find the best way about getting the most out of it.
Just we're always friends. Like the culture, like we're always there for each other. We were dedicated to one another. We if anybody needed anything, we're always there for them, and we just enjoyed each other's company. It wasn't I show up for 2 hours today, and that's the only time I ever talk to you. Like we hung out outside of polo as well. We just played with our best buds, and I think that's what made us a successful team.
I'd say the culture of kids needing to learn how to swim. Fortunately, that people are getting more and more aware that there's a huge need for kids must learn how to swim, especially underprivileged kids of color, because there's a 4 to 6 times more likely drowning situation for a minority versus a Caucasian in that category, which is completely unacceptable. Nobody should drown. If you know how to swim, it cures drowning. Yeah. And so that's something that I think is everybody's aware of here.
The only other thing I would say is actually, it seems odd, but in Alaska, there was way more pool space than San Diego.
Yeah.
Almost every high school in Alaska has its own pool. And in San Diego, maybe 1 in 10 or 12, maybe.
Yeah.
So in San Diego, you're always, unless you're one of those schools that has a pool, you're just scratching for pool time. And in Alaska, that was never the case. Your high school team at every school pretty much got what they wanted for pool time, and that was that. So that's a big difference.
I think so. I mean, I think a lot of people get into the sport thinking that they can get a good workout in while they can get tan and have that Southern California look. I think being out, growing up in my town, I mean, it was always hot in the summertime, so that actually attracts people to the pool. So having an outdoor pool to do, my high school when we were growing up always did this thing called All Sports Camp that all the middle school kids used to go to. And you do every single sport, and one of them, you'd go out to the pool, and jump off the diving board. They had inner tube water polo type stuff and like just silly things like that. But it got people into the pool. So I think that was definitely an advantage. Being outdoors, people were more attracted to go into the pool, especially when it's 90, 100 degrees outside. It feels good.
Very definitely. So I play water polo year round, or played water polo year round for my club team as well. So high school season lasts basically all the fall. Then I started playing club in the off season, which was winter and then spring, and then throughout summer. And because I had access to a pool at Cathedral Catholic High School, which was about 5 minutes away, 10 minutes away from my house, that definitely helped me stay with the sport. I also went back to England for a brief period and played in England, and it was way harder because every pool is closed and they have specific times and it's very hard to get to, so that would have made it a lot harder.
The biggest difference is water polo. I would say out in the west here, there's a sort of the coastal towns of California, water polo is a big deal, and as a swim coach, I would say often they sort of take our best swimmers because water polo is a fun sport. You get to throw a ball around, you get to push people. It's shorter duration. It's a fun thing, and I think back east people consider water polo to be sort of a way to give swimming a diversion. Here, I think people think of it as swimming being something to get you ready for water polo in a lot of cases. So that's a big difference. And then for the older people, which I love, is to see all the master swimmers, especially the open water people. And there's so many people that go down to the marine room, they go over to the cove, and they swim almost every morning, all year round. I love that. I think it's a super healthy way for people to stay in shape and to sort of stay enthusiastic about life. So I think there's a really healthy atmosphere around swimming out here in California.
Well, probably the biggest effect is on, I think, kids in a city that's right on a beach, and so much of life takes place at the beach. And most people would rather just hang out at the beach than hang out at the pool. But there's still water, and you have to be water safe. And so again, like in Alaska, even though it's not the kind of place you'd expect people to go swimming a lot, like when I taught swimming lessons in Alaska, the swimming lessons were.
And I just, out in Chula Vista, I fell in love with the place. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, it's perfect out here.
Yeah.
The weather's perfect. The environment feels great, healthy living. But yeah, that's how I got to San Diego, was just the desire to be here. And I did think this would be an ideal place to have a professional swim team, because there's so many things you can do in terms of using the ocean, using the culture of healthy living and triathlon culture and open water swimming culture. And I think there's so many ways that we can be better in this sport in San Diego. And I saw that San Diego, competitive swimming wasn't very strong. Like if you look at the national rankings, Imperial Swimming is one of the lower level associations. So I'm hoping that by being here, I can raise that as well.
After hearing the views of people who have dedicated most of their life to aquatics about the effects of outdoor pools on the culture of California, it is clear to see outdoor pools have a significant impact on the state's culture. By participating in activities such as getting in on a hot summer day to cool off, training with some of the most highly ranked athletes in the world, or swimming to become a better surfer, Californians have changed pool culture from just working out in a chlorine-filled building to a way of enjoying the resources that California provides in order to further define a stereotypical culture.